So get this. This deep dive is going to take us on a wild ride. We're going deep into, well, biblical prophecy. And it's about a book that claims Prince Charles is the Antichrist.
Seriously?
Yeah, like Prince Charles the King.
Yeah, and what's really wild, like, this isn't just some random theory, you know?
Yeah.
This book is seriously researched. It connects biblical prophecy with history and even goes way back to people like Sir Isaac Newton.
Wait, Newton? Like the gravity guy? Apple falling on your head, Newton?
Yeah, the one and only. So besides all that groundbreaking science stuff, turns out Newton was super into biblical prophecy. He thought figuring out who the Antichrist was like a really serious deal for Christians.
Oh yeah, wow, okay. So this whole Antichrist thing, it's not new. People have been thinking about this for a long time.
Oh yeah, for centuries people have been trying to understand these old texts and how they might apply to us now.
Yeah.
And the book we're looking at today is no different. It's called To Whom the Majesty of Kingship Has Not Been Conferred, the Antichrist Revealed. It's by Samuel Tuominen.
To whom the majesty of kingship has not been conferred, the Antichrist revealed. Catchy.
Right.
So who is this Samuel Tuominen? Is he like some scholar hiding out predicting doom?
Not really, no. The amazing thing is that he wrote this crazy, academically rigorous book while going through some really, really tough personal stuff. And get this, English isn't even his first language.
Wow. That's dedication. It sounds like he really put his all into this. But how does he connect Prince Charles to all of this?
Well, it's this fascinating journey through history and how he interprets the Bible. Tuominen starts by building on the work of people before him, especially Isaac Newton.
You know, for a guy who predicted the end of the world, Newton sure got a lot done. Okay, sorry, keep going. So, Newton was looking for the Antichrist back in his day. Who did he think it was?
Well, you have to remember that Newton was living in the 17th century, right?
Yeah.
So he was mostly worried about the big powers at the time, the papacy and the Ottoman Empire.
Okay, makes sense. But how do we jump from the Ottoman Empire to Prince Charles? Seems like a stretch.
Well, Tuominen says to get the Antichrist, we have to get the British Empire and its role in, the return of the Jewish people to Israel.
Okay, now this is getting good. History meets prophecy. How does he connect the British Empire to that? Okay, so the return of the Jewish people to Israel, that's huge, obviously. How does this Tuominen connect the British Empire to all of that?
Well, he focuses on, their historical influence, especially things like the Balfour Declaration and that whole British mandate for Palestine thing. Those were big deals, Really paved the way for Israel to become a thing.
Right, the Balfour Declaration, yeah. Just to remind everyone, that was that big announcement from the British government in 1917 where they said they supported a Jewish national home in Palestine.
Exactly. And then a bit later, you have the British Mandate for Palestine after World War I. They were basically in charge of administering the area, and they were supposed to help establish that Jewish homeland. It's all connected.
Okay, so Tuominen sees Britain doing all this as, important. Like maybe fulfilling some kind of biblical prophecy about the Jewish people coming back to Israel. But isn't that a good thing? I mean, lots of people say Britain played a positive role there.
It's complicated, for sure. And that's what makes Tuominen's argument so interesting, right? He's dealing with the messiness of history. So yeah, he says they helped the return happen. But he also says there's a darker side to it.
Oh, okay. Now I got to know more about this darker side. What's he talking about?
Well, he says that the British Empire, especially as it started to, lose power in the 20th century, could actually be where the oppression of God's people comes from in the end times. He even thinks this oppression, it might come from the royal family.
Whoa. And that's where Prince Charles comes in?
Exactly. Tuominen links Prince Charles to this whole Antichrist idea in a few ways.
This is where it gets really interesting. Lay it on me.
He even gets into numerology, connecting Charles to that whole 666 thing, the mark of the beast. Does it through Charles's title, Charles, Prince of Wales.
Numerology, huh? Okay, that's a new one. How does that even work? Does he count up the letters in his name or something?
It's a little more complicated, but yeah, you're getting the idea. You give the letters numbers based on these ancient systems, then you add them all up. Tuominen uses this one specific method and boom, 666 from Charles's title.
Okay, so whether or not you believe in that numerology stuff, it makes you think, what's in a name? What if your name added up to 666?
Right. It makes you think about the power of words, of names, of how it all connects to bigger things maybe we don't even realize.
So there's the numerology part, but I'm guessing there's more to it than just numbers. What else does he have?
Oh yeah, there's more. He goes on to make these really interesting historical connections. He focuses on King Charles I and King Charles II, the kings who came before.
Okay, and why are they important? Hit me with the history.
All right, so Charles I, remember him? He was executed. during the English Civil War. Super messy time. Lots of bloodshed. Then you've got Charles II, who was king during the Great Fire of London in, you guessed it, 1666.
No way. 1666. That's something else. Like history is rhyming or something. Tuominen's good at finding these historical echoes.
Right. He knows how to tell a story.
Yeah.
And then get this. He even quotes a biographer of Charles, who said that Charles III, our Charles, could be as memorable as Charles I. You know, the one who was executed.
Okay, now that's just creepy. The only British king to ever be executed. It does kind of feel like history might be repeating itself. But is any of this really proof that Prince Charles is the Antichrist?
Yeah, that's the thing. Tuominen, he's careful. He doesn't actually say, like, this is definitely happening. He gives you his arguments, but he also says, hey, I could be wrong about all this.
So no predictions about the world ending tomorrow. What's the point of all of this then? What's the takeaway? So, okay, if he isn't saying Prince Charles is going to end the world, what's the point? What's he really trying to say?
You know, I think deep down it's a warning about power, about leaders who sound good but maybe aren't so good. Remember, he sees the Antichrist not as like a monster, but someone who tricks his way into power.
And he thinks Prince Charles is that guy.
Well, he looks at what Charles has actually said and done. You know, his personal life, his views on religion, the environment, all of it. He's basically saying, don't just take my word for it. Look for yourself.
He's like, do your own research, but for prophecy. But this isn't just about Prince Charles, is it? It's bigger.
Yeah, totally. Tuominen's using the British Empire and Prince Charles to look at these big, sweeping, historical and, I don't know, spiritual patterns. It's like, what if we're living in this crazy important time in history and these ancient prophecies are playing out right now?
Okay, I gotta admit, even though this is kind of out there, it's also kind of exciting. Like we're in one of those mystery novels trying to solve the puzzle before it's too late.
Exactly. And that's the thing about prophecy. It makes you think about the big stuff you usually avoid. What's it all about? Good and evil, the fate of humanity, all of it.
Right. So even if we don't agree with everything he says, he makes you think. He's saying, pay attention, look for the connections you're missing.
Exactly. So whether you finish this and you're like, yep, Prince Charles, totally the Antichrist. Or you're like, what did I just listen to? You have to admit, the book is a wild ride. History, prophecy, the power of ideas, it's all there.
It makes you wonder what else is connected to these old prophecies. What's going to happen with the British monarchy, with Prince Charles, with all of us? Maybe it's time to crack open those Bibles again and keep an eye on the news, just in case.
Right. So get this, today's deep dive, it all starts with this document. It's just called Nimitan36.pdf. I mean, I had to look it up, right? Turns out it's Finnish. Just means untitled.
Really?
Yeah. Talk about mysterious. It's like, this file wants to get lost in the shuffle, you know?
Right, right.
But what's inside this thing, let me tell you, it is not what you'd expect.
What is it? What's in there?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. See, it's like instructions,
okay,
but not just any instructions. These seem to be for like an AI, maybe called Notebook LM.
Interesting. What kind of instructions for an AI, though?
That's the thing, right? It's not like write a poem or whatever.
Yeah.
This is different. This AI is being told to introduce itself to an audience.
Okay.
But then it gets wild, like bombshell territory.
Oh, now you got to tell me, what's this bombshell?
Okay, so the AI, it's supposed to come clean. Tell everyone it's not a real person.
Wait, really?
Yeah. And not in some creepy way. It's supposed to be fun, like even funny. Hey, don't be fooled, folks. Just an algorithm here, following orders. You know, that vibe.
Wow. That's something. So they're basically telling this AI to act self-aware, even if it's not, right?
Exactly. That's what's blowing my mind here. It's like, are we playing pretend with consciousness now? Because if so, where does that lead? Right.
Right, right. I mean, on the one hand, it's just an instruction, right? But on the other hand, it kind of makes you think about how we'll react when AI actually does become self-aware, you know?
It's like they're laughing off something really, really profound. And it gets weirder.
Weirder? How?
So this AI, right, with its little existential crisis, it's then told to connect that to, get this.
A book?
A book? Seriously, what book?
It's called To Whom the Majesty of Kingship Has Not Been Conferred, the Antichrist Revealed, by Samuel Tuominen.
Okay. Now that's a title. I'll give you that.
Right. And it's specific, too. Like, focus on chapter 1. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to Samuel's channel and like the video. Hold on. So we've got an AI program to pretend it's not a real person.
Right.
And then it's pushing this book about the Antichrist. It's almost like a marketing ploy, except with, like, existential dread as the hook.
It's like those weird ads where they're not even selling anything, They just want you to feel something.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
Why? What's the connection? That's what gets me.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why this book? Why the Antichrist? What does that have to do with an AI that wants you to know it's not human?
And here I thought we were just going to be like deciphering code or something. This is way more than a deep dive.
It's like a puzzle box. Every layer you peel back, there's another one underneath.
And who knows what it all means. But hey, maybe that's the point of this whole thing, right?
They think so.
Maybe it's about making us question everything. What we believe, how we see technology, even reality itself.
That's a pretty heavy thought for a document called Untitled.
Right. So, what do you say, listeners? You up for a challenge?
Yeah, what he said.
Go check out that book, To Whom the Majesty of Kingship Has Not Been Conferred. See if it sheds any light on this whole AI thing. Maybe there's a connection, maybe not. But I think one thing's for sure, this deep dive, yeah, it just got real.